Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Poker News Podcast. Jeff Platt joined by Chad Holloway. We are brought to you by our good friends at Run It Once. Check out the man, Phil Galfon's site. You can go to once.run/pnpod for an exclusive deposit bonus for our Poker News Podcast listeners. Again, that is once.run/pnpod. Unfortunately, you can only play if you are outside of the United States. Chad Holloway, we are both inside the United States. And Chad, this is the time of year where I normally get so fired up. It's March. It stays light outside for a little bit longer. March Madness is heating up. We're entering conference tournaments, NBA playoffs around the corner. The World Series of Poker just months away. The weather is getting nice. I love this time of the year, except it's all about the coronavirus. And that, Chad, is bringing me down just a bit. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on the show before, whether or not we think this could have some big impacts with the World Series of Poker. I am on record as saying no way, no chance.
Right, like you were pretty adamant about that last week, Chad.
Yeah, and, recent developments and I'm doing a 180. I'm going to eat some crow here and say I now think the World Series of Poker being affected by the coronavirus is a very real possibility. If you've been reading PokerNews.com, lots of events in Europe and Asia are being impacted because of the coronavirus, whether they're postponed or outright canceled. And I think the straw for me, well, nothing in the U.S. has been affected by coronavirus yet in terms of poker. When they canceled South by Southwest, just such a huge festival in the mainstream, that to me was like, all right, if they are really going to pull the plug on that, the World Series of Poker seems kind of more small potatoes to me in a lot of regards. And then, toss in Coachella recently getting postponed. And, there was a big Comic-Con called Emerald Con in Seattle, which is right in a hot spot of coronavirus. That got canceled. And so I think we're just going to see more and more. And now there are a couple months between now and the WSOP and a lot can happen. But I do think that there is certainly a chance. In fact, I got an email, Jeff, right when we started recording this podcast from Caesars Entertainment. Now, this is just a very standard boilerplate that they sent to everybody who is a rewards member. It's not World Series of Poker specific, but Caesars Entertainment does own the WSOP, and in it the title of the email was our response to coronavirus COVID-19, and it basically is, like I said, a lot of boilerplate language that they're going to basically turn to the professionals. So if the state or local governments, health departments, tell them a directive, they're going to follow it. And so I do think the WSOP is impacted. It's not going to be the WSOP's decision. They're not just going to say, we're pulling the plug, we're going to miss out on all this money, basically. They're going to be shut down by the government or the city or the county or the state, whatever it might be, citing public health concerns. And we've already seen this in other gatherings, states saying that, you can't host this event because you're going to have 1,000+ people. So I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of directive in Vegas is put in place like that, like no gathering of 1,000 or more people in one specific place, like a convention center. Obviously that would hurt the WSOP. I don't know. What are your thoughts after the recent developments?
Well, first as I almost break my mic, to clarify your stance, are you saying that there is a now better than 50% chance that the World Series of Poker gets canceled, or maybe canceled is not the right terminology, gets postponed, something happens to the WSOP?
I don't know. I wouldn't say better than 50%. I don't think
so it's
I'm
about a
there.
Flip now in your mind?
I think it's pretty close to a flip. I'm going to say that I have pocket nines. I've got it all in, and I'm up against ace king. I got to sweat it. It's very thin.
Well, we know how you run in flips, so we are hoping that the ace king is that the World Series of Poker stays on. I mean, Chad, you mentioned this list that's on Poker News of the amount of poker tournaments around the world that have been postponed in France, in Germany, that have been canceled in France, in Morocco. Barcelona, WPT Barcelona was just recently postponed. I know Party Poker just made the decision to postpone their May Cyprus Million. So a lot is happening. And you said it. I mean, just with these big gatherings, I mean, we're seeing college basketball conference tournaments coming up soon. And some conferences have taken a dramatic step of saying, we're going to play these games, but nobody's going to be in the audience because we can't have that many people. And we've talked about this time and time again. Everybody listening knows this. Poker is not the best format if you don't want to acquire anyone else's germs or these air particles that people cough into the air. You got the cards, you got the chips, you're sitting in a cramped atmosphere with a bunch of other people. It's just really, really tough at this point to see the World Series of Poker go on as normal. Now, the WSOP does have a slight benefit, and that benefit is time, right? We're still almost 3 months away from the World Series. And while this virus has grown at a crazy exponential rate for the last couple of weeks in the United States, there's certainly a chance that it could calm down come April, that it could calm down come May. So I know that there's no reason for the WSOP to act fast. Now, can they wait until the day before the tournament series starts? No, probably not, because that's not fair to everybody who's booking the travel arrangements. That's not fair to their entire staff, the hundreds of dealers, the hundreds of floor people that they bring out specifically for the World Series of Poker. But they do have just a little bit of time. They don't need to make an announcement in a week, in 2 weeks. When we're in the middle of April, though, I think we're going to start to see a decision take place. Okay, Chad, so let's just say that the World Series of Poker cannot take place in its current form in June and July. Then do you still go on with the online events? Do you try to reschedule? Do you try to postpone? Or what do you think the World Series tries to do?
If I was with the World Series and we had to do something, let's say coronavirus is here, the government is saying we can't host it as is right now, we need to find an alternative. I think if I was in that decision making, I would maybe say something like this. All right, let's host the online events as planned during the summer, with the idea of maybe in September, October, November, somewhere around that time frame, of hosting a more mini WSOP where they can still host the main event. I would love to see the main event continue. You know, I can't imagine there not being a 2020 World Series of Poker main event champion. And, you know, the main event's 10 days. So let's say you take 2 weeks in November and you host the main event, and you can also probably squeeze in a dozen other gold bracelet events, maybe some sort of mini schedule. Now, that might have to replace the World Series of Poker Europe or something that's taking place at the same time, or maybe you can juggle the calendar. I really don't know. I haven't dived into it that much, but I like to think that maybe that's an option. Like I said, I just can't imagine a year without the main event. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's like not having a Super Bowl.
No, it is just sickening to think about that there is a legitimate chance that the World Series of Poker main event gets pushed back or gets canceled in 2020. That's bizarre. I like where your head's at. I like keeping the idea open of like, hey, we're going to have the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas. It's not going to look like it usually looks. It might be in later months. It might have to be at a different location because the Rio is booked. It might have to be smaller. We might have to even cap the main event this year because of our location, of our space that we have available for it. But I agree. Let's put some live events on the calendar, and I'm sure they're already undergoing research into multiple scenarios that could possibly take place. All right, so we will keep you posted of all the coronavirus updates. Again, right now you can go to pokernews.com. You can check out a list of the upcoming poker events in March and in April that are either still on as planned, that have been postponed, or that have been canceled. We would like to take this time. Yeah, go ahead, Chad.
Before we get to thank our sponsor, one quick little tidbit. You know, it says in the article, as of March 10th, which is when we're recording this, that no poker events in the United States are affected by the coronavirus. Well, as the head of live reporting for the United States for Poker News, I'm obviously keeping a close eye on it.
Sure.
And I know for a fact that it is going to have an effect on at least one event. I can't share details about that, unfortunately. They will be made public very soon, and we'll have that story on Poker News when it is. But I can tell you, having worked in this market, having worked closely with these casinos, these venues, these tours, that it certainly is on their mind, and that it is going to affect at least one. I can't really get into too many details. We'll talk about it next podcast, I'm sure, but it really is a pretty serious matter, worldwide, of course, in the mainstream, but even in the poker world, because like you said, it's just such a breeding ground for germs and for a virus like this to catch from person to person.
And then don't you think, Chad, once this one tournament series comes out and says, we're going to cancel or we're going to delay, postpone, whatever terminology they want to use, that will start the domino effect of sorts?
I do. I really do. I think maybe that's what other venues or casinos are waiting for, is somebody else to take the plunge first, or to give them an excuse to play it safe, to pull the plug or what have you. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's just these small changes and life goes on. But, it's the world we live in currently with the coronavirus that, these are the sort of consequences that we have to think about and be prepared for.
And we, of course, hope for the well-being and safety of all of our listeners around the world. All right, a good time to thank our friends at GG Poker. Hey, if you're going to sit out the summer on live poker, maybe you can play a little bit online. And there might not be a better place to do it than GG with their Sunday majors, the Masters. They have an incredible Player of the Year system. You know what? Let's just toss it to Daniel Negreanu. He'll fill you in.
What's up, people? D-Negs here. As you may have heard, I signed on as an ambassador for GG Poker, and you may be wondering why. Well, the key reason is the product, okay? They have the absolute best software on the market, not just the desktop, but also for mobile. In addition to that, they really have invested into this GG Masters, right? It's a $150 buy-in freeze-out. You know how I feel about freeze-outs. And there's also a big carrot at the top. Leaderboard prize up to $500,000. Each and every week so far, there's been added money. So come get yours. Use sign-up code PokerNews.
Jeff, I love Daniel Negreanu, and I was, I love to see him here on the podcast telling us about GG Poker. But last Friday, I was sitting here in my room watching the Global Poker Awards, thinking I was going to see Mr. Negreanu take one down, maybe for a DAT Poker podcast, which I'm a big fan of. I listen to, but no such luck. He struck out there, and he wasn't the only one, Jeff.
Yeah, that much is true. You might have seen me, Chad, at the Global Poker Awards. You might have even seen me on stage. Don't mean to brag, but it was not for accepting an award. It was for presenting. So, Chad, you said at the Global Poker Awards, they took place last Friday night at the PokerGo studio in Las Vegas. I thought it was a fantastic ceremony. I thought Maria Ho and Dre Renee killed it. Now, before we break down these awards, Chad, what did you think of the broadcast overall?
I really enjoyed it. I actually made that the highlight of my night. I was going to sit down, watch the Global Poker Awards, tweet a little bit about it, see the Twitter reactions, and just kind of make it, an event. And I'm glad that I did. I really enjoyed it. It seemed like a great event in person. It was great seeing a lot of my colleagues and friends there, having a good time, some shipping awards. I was a little disappointed with some of the award winners who weren't in attendance, so I get that not everybody can come. It was great that those who couldn't make it, that submitted a video. I think that was fine. That was flawless. Sure. But there were a few winners who were just like, well, they're not here. We're just going to accept this award on their behalf. That's kind of a little disappointing. And I think, based upon what I read on social media, there was others that felt that way too.
Yeah, and I think the award show will just continue to grow and become more and more popular. And my prediction is that Chad Holloway attends the Global Poker Awards as a nominee next year for 2021, which would be called the 2020 Global Poker Awards. But you see what I'm saying. So Chad and I are going to do this. We're going to take a look at this Poker News article, the recap, which, as a matter of fact, was written by Chad Holloway. We're going to scroll down a little bit, Chad, past the winners, just so we can see the nominees. And let's do this. We'll just quick hit them all. We'll switch off. I'll take the first one, and we can reveal, I had a vote in some of the categories. I'm more than happy to reveal who I ended up voting for to win. So let's just bounce back and forth. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I will start with the Breakout Player of the Year. And Chad, I think this was an easy one. It was Robert Campbell, the World Series of Poker Player of the Year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they got this one right. I interviewed Campbell before he won the WSOP Player of the Year. Really breakout star. He's remained relevant. The other guys on the list certainly had a great year, are great guys. I've gotten to know Ben Farrell, but I think this one they got exactly right. Robert Campbell was one of the most talked about players of the year in 2019.
So Ben Farrell, I was going to accept the award on his behalf if Ben was lucky enough to take it down. And just quick story on Ben. Last year, towards the beginning of last year, I was playing cash games at Red Rock alongside Ben Farrell. And, I had no idea who it was. And he said something to me, Chad, like, you think I should have 1.7x plotted on the turn? And I'm like, dude, you should not be playing Red Rock cash games. Like, you just take this game, go straight to the top. And I'm really happy to see his success. So it's Robert Campbell, the winner of Breakout Player. You take final table performance.
Yeah, there were Jose Enson, Alex Foxen, Phil Wee, Bryn Kenny, all nominated. The award went to Philip Wee for winning the WSOP 50K Poker Players Championship. I like Phil. I've known him a long time. Happy to see him win here, but I do think this one was almost a coin flip. I could have easily seen it going to Hossein Enson with his final table performance. Very impressive, winning the main event this year. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that was my vote, was for Hossein Enson for the World Series of Poker main event. I just thought He was great. And it's not, sure, you have to run really, really well to win the main event. But I don't think that just at the final table, he ran spectacularly well, and that's why he won. I just thought Enson played really well under the brightest lights on the biggest stage that poker has. But still, Phil Hooley, to win that 50K, to beat that field in those games, I mean, we cannot give enough props. Twitter personality, I had to do it, Chad. I had to vote for her. She was my rival. But she was the winner and a well-deserved winner at that. Jamie Kerstetter beat out Kitty Kuo, Barney Boatman, and Kev Math.
Yeah, I mean, I'm admittedly biased. I hosted the LFG podcast with Jamie for 2 years. I've grown pretty close to her over that time. Think she's hilarious, love her. Really happy to see her win this. She's been nominated before, but this is her first Global Poker Award. So very sincere congratulations to Jamie. Very happy, very proud of you.
All right, Chad, move us along to Player's Choice for Toughest Opponent. This award, the top 100 in the GPI were the only voters, and they voted on their toughest opponent.
Yeah, which I think is just awesome. It makes this all the more special, right? That you have actually had to compete against this guy. I haven't, so I don't get to vote. 4 nominees was won by Stephen Chidwick.
What a surprise.
Yeah, right? Beat out Michael Adamo, Cale Burns, and Ali Imsurovic. Yeah, Chidwick, what can you say? He's a beast. He's always been a beast, but in 2019 in particular, he slayed it. And I think he's married now with a child, so he might not stay on the grind. But for this point in time, he is the toughest poker player in the world.
Yeah, we weren't surprised, but it was still good to see. Like, it's good to see that the players like we think the world of Stephen Chidwick. But I thought, yeah, sure, maybe there's just a small chance he's just running really well, and the players know that. But no, they know that Stephen Chidwick is the absolute best in the game right now. All right, moving on to Streamer of the Year. Pavlovich, Sprague, Staples, Veldhouse, and Lex Veldhouse takes it down. I don't watch many streams. I'm familiar with these guys, and of course, I'm familiar with Lex, and it was no surprise to me that he won.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I do watch some streams. I don't watch them religiously. I try to keep an eye on all aspects of the poker world. Wasn't surprised that Lex took this down. Benjamin Sprague is another one that I know made a big impact on me in 2019. And Matt Staples obviously had a great rise, and Pavlovich is a streamer who's made a name for himself. Obviously, he's a nominee, but yeah, Veldhouse seemed to be the front runner here and took it down. Right along those lines, Jeff, vlogger. When you think of poker vlogs, you think of Andrew Nemi. Yeah, he's the one. He shipped it here for Vlogger of the Year, beat out Jamon Burton, Daniel Negreanu, and Brad Owen. And I believe it was back-to-back wins for Andrew Nemi after getting Vlogger of the Year last year.
Yes, I think that is correct. Nemi wins it once again. I don't watch many of the vlogs, but I have immense respect for those guys because they grind and they grind and they grind. And a lot of these guys have now built an amazing audience. The only vlog I watch is Negreanu's in the summer. I think he does a spectacular job. I think if I had a vote in the vlogging category, which I did not, and I should not have, I would probably lean him because he's just so unique. But, he puts a lot of production value into it, but still major props to Nemi.
I'm going to give, real quick before we move on, I want to give props to Nemi too. He did something after he won in his acceptance speech. He personally named probably 24 vloggers. There was only 4 nominated. A lot others got shortlisted, but Nemi is somebody who cares about this, particular segment of the poker world. And to see him, name some of these vloggers who might not get the sort of mainstream recognition that he does, or, the level of recognition that he does, I just thought that was a very cool gesture on his part.
I agree 100%. Podcast of the Year, of course, went to the PokerNews Podcast with Jeff Platt and Chad Holloway. No, it did not, actually. I did have a vote in this one. I voted for the podcast that ended up being the winner, and that was The Grid with our friend Jen Shahadi, PokerStars ambassador. I just think that her podcast was so unique, what she brought to the table with that grid. I thought it was a well-deserved win and well-deserved nominees. Chad, you mentioned the Dat Poker podcast earlier. Love those guys. Poker Life podcast with Joey Ingram. He always crushes it. The Fives with our guys, Lance and Donnie. I listen to them every week as well. But the grid just really stood out for me this last year.
You know what? If I don't know if there was a stronger category in the awards this year. All these 4 podcasts were, quality productions. I listened to them all. I really enjoyed that poker podcast, The Fives with Donnie Peters, formerly of the PokerNews Podcast. It was definitely great all around, and really happy to see Jen Shahade take it down. The Grid is, if you haven't listened, definitely check it out. I mean, it is for this year, it's the podcast of the year. Next year, maybe we'll give them a run for their money.
Maybe we will. All right. I mean, you mentioned stat categories. Give us this next one.
Yeah, the next one was industry person. And this one is always, pretty stacked. There's only a certain level of movers and shakers. Think of them as the NFL team owners of the poker industry.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, great way to look at it.
Yeah, they have their owners meetings and things like that. But the 4 nominees this year were Phil Gelfond, Kerry Katz, Paul Fua, and Matt Savage. And it went to Paul Fua of Triton Poker, beat out the other 3 guys, and I think it was well-deserved. Paul is, not somebody who makes a lot of noise in the United States market, sports betting, Vegas lawsuits years ago aside, but, he stays away from this part of the world, but he's really killing it with Triton Poker. They have the biggest events in the world, high rollers throughout Asia and even in Europe and stuff. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, he was my vote for the winner. Now, to be honest, I was not allowed to vote for, say, either Kerry Katz or Sam Simmons in first place because I work with them at Poker Central and Poker Go, and I think those guys have done a tremendous job. I think it's well-deserved for Paul Pua. The steps that Triton has taken have been pretty remarkable. And, we say it year after year, and you said it, just an absolutely stacked category with names that do so much for the game. And speaking of names that do so much for the game, tournament director, the nominees, Tony Burns, Paul Campbell, Jack Effel, and our guy and PokerNews Podcast listener, Matt Savage. And, whenever Matt Savage wins tournament director of the year, we could never say, no, that's a pretty terrible decision. The guy is consistently on top of the poker world. And I think that says so much to just be at the very top of your industry for what now, about 20 years. I mean, that's why we've said it. He's just a lock for the Hall of Fame in the future.
Yeah, nothing against Matt Savage here. Him winning is well-deserved by all measures. But I'm going to say, personally, I'm a little disappointed in this particular result. Again, nothing against Matt Savage. I just really thought that this was going to be Tony Burns' year. Tony Burns, out of the Seminole Hard Rock, he has been on the nominated for the past 4 years, I believe it is, for tournament director. And this was his last year of being eligible because he took a promotion as head of marketing for the Seminole property. So he's no longer a tournament director. So I kind of thought, given that aspect and then the great events that the Seminole Hard Rock, did hold in 2019, that maybe it was finally going to be his year. It wasn't. It was Matt Savage, kind of his mentor. Matt, congratulations, well-deserved. Don't mean to take anything away from you. And to Tony, well, this just means he's just got to go for industry person of the year.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, tremendous props. I think the poker world is lucky to have Burns. You mentioned the events at Seminole. Paul Campbell, who runs all the high roller events over at the Poker Go studio, has done tremendous work this year. Jack Effel, I mean, to run the World Series of Poker, that is pretty remarkable. And then we've said plenty about our guy, Matt Savage. All right, on to event of the year. Chad, take it away.
Event of the year, everyone says the main event, the WSOP main event should win this every year. And I think there's a great argument to be made there. But in 2019, there were some great events. The main event was on the list, one of the nominees, the WSOP Big 50, the biggest poker tournament in the world, the Triton London Million for Charity, and then, of course, the PSPC, the PokerStars Players Championship Bahamas. And I think this is one where they got it right. If there was going to be an event that upset the WSOP main event, it was the PSPC, the $25K buy-in. I was there. I actually got to play in it. And as somebody who's worked in the poker industry for over a decade now, there was just something very special about that tournament. It electrified the community. And, for it to win event of the year, I think is well-deserved.
Yeah, you said it. Just an electric atmosphere. I was fortunate enough to be there as well, covering it. Just for PokerStars to put that much money into one single tournament and really hype it up the way they did, I thought that was really cool, and really looking forward to the next one in Barcelona. Mid-major tour and circuit of the year. I did have a vote in this category. I gave my vote to the RunGood Poker Series. I just think, Chad, time and time again, they're back-to-back winners. They just set themselves up in a way that benefits that low stakes to mid stakes tournament grinder, that weekend warrior who can only play at night, who can only play on the weekend, who doesn't want to play with a bunch of GTO bots who have their headphones on, who just want to have a good time and play poker tournaments. And I think that's exactly what RunGood does.
Yeah, winning it back to back, I think, is a testament to what they're building, what they're doing on the mid-major circuit in the United States. If you haven't checked out a RunGood Poker Series, definitely, look at their calendar. They have 2 seasons, one in the spring, one in the fall. And, we do the live updates here on Poker News. So it's just a great mid-major. There's a lot of competition in that space too, Jeff. As somebody who worked for one of the competition, the Mid-States Poker Tour, SPT, for 3 years, the mid-majors are strong. There's great value there, for your relatively small buy-in. You get a chance at some big prize pools. And, I guess we'll see if RunGood could go for the hat trick next year and make it 3 in a row.
And we'll also see, Chad, if they run it back on the industry championship. And I'm coming after you for that one. Let me say that I'm coming after you for that title. Speaking of coming after you, a quick aside, and not many of you will care about this, so I will make it a very quick aside. But there is such a thing as Poker Media Power Rankings. And it was a list that Sam Cosby was on top of. Now, Sam has had to retire, quote unquote, from the poker media. So he was pushed off of that list. And so I thought, Chad, as number 2 on the list, here I come. I'm going to be on number 1. And the latest update has Chad Holloway at that number 1 spot. And I stay at number 2. So A, congratulations. B, I'm going to come after you for that top spot also.
Yeah, well, good luck. I think we both got lucky that Sam retired.
Yeah, that was huge for us.
Yeah, because Sam's been on the tear. He's a great player, and he's going to do good things in the poker industry. Not only has he done great things as a reporter, as a player too, but I'm going to try to hold on, Jeff. I'm going to try to, we'll see. Maybe if the WSOP doesn't happen, it behooves me. It helps me.
Oh, true.
You don't have as many chances to score big.
That is an excellent point. All right, Chad, Journalist of the Year. Take it away.
Yeah, this is a big one, near and dear to myself as somebody who is a poker journalist in this industry for a long time. The nominees this year, Lance Bradley, who seems to be a staple there. Haley Hintz, who I was very glad to see get nominated. She does great work and has long been underappreciated in my opinion. Joey Ingram, no surprise there with all the work that he did on the Mike Postle situation. And then Nick Jones, another one of those guys whose nose is to the grindstone. And this year, Journalist of the Year, Joey Ingram. I think this one was, with the Mike Postle situation in the end of 2019 being so prominent, Joey did such a good job in covering that. He's definitely a journalist cut from a different cloth than many of the others. Joey does his podcast, which he was nominated for Podcast of the Year. He's not your traditional, writing articles or things like that. He's a face-to-face, gets the interviews, or he does his deep dive investigations. Obviously very popular, and he was recognized by Journalist of the Year. And it wasn't the only award that he won. We'll talk about the next one here in a little bit. But
yeah, and I'm going to praise Joey more in that next one. For Journalist of the Year, I did end up voting for Haley. I just think she represents journalism so well. And she does it throughout the course of the year. Joey had this incredible stretch of unique journalism for, 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was. And it was awesome. It was top of the line. It was best content of the year. Like I voted for, again, you said we'll get to that in a little bit. I just think overall journalism for the entire year, I voted for Haley. The next one's a fun one. The next one is Broadcaster of the Year. The nominees, Jamie Kerstetter, Joe Stapleton, Jeff Platt, hey, that's me, and the winner, Nick Schulman. That's all I got, Chad. That's all I can say. It's like maybe, of course we're all always going to be underdogs to Nick Schulman, right? And so I was like, I'm so happy to be nominated. I'm very lucky and very fortunate. And maybe I have a real slight chance to knock off Schulman. Nope, didn't happen. The GOAT won.
Yeah, I mean, Schulman is tough to beat. He was one of those guys who wasn't in attendance, which I thought was, a little disappointing because I believe he lives in Vegas, right?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, so, get on down to the Poker Go studio and, claim your trophy. But he didn't, and, but he is well-deserving. He's one of those broadcasters who, is universally praised. He's like the Tony Romo, right? Everyone loves Tony Romo as a broadcaster in the NFL. Everyone seems to love him in poker. But, Jeff, you do a great job. Jamie does a great job. Stapes as well. So, you guys were up against it, but Schulman held on. Maybe next year.
Yeah. Think about this. How hard is it to get the poker Twitter world, whatever you want to call it, the poker community, to unite on one similar stance. And that is that Nick Schulman's an amazing commentator. So that's pretty cool. And you said it. I mean, well-deserved. All right, take us into the media content of the year in the written form.
Right. So, yeah, this is either an article or a book. It's something that's got to be written. Lance Bradley got a nod for Pocket Fives, A Fight for Fatherhood, the biggest win of Jason Young's life. Kevin Roster, article on Poker News by Aliyah Jadavji. Sorry, Aliyah, if I butcher that. Haley Hochsteller as well. And then another Poker News article was by Paul Seaton, the unabridged story of the Hendon Mob. Great piece. Check it out. You can just search Hendon Mob on Poker News. You can read it. But they were all beaten out by Poker and Pop Culture, the book by Martin Harris for D&B Publishing. I read the book. I did a review on Poker News. Martin is a longtime friend of mine. I love poker history, and I was ecstatic to see, his hard work, this book pay off, because it really is a great read. It really is a great testament to poker history. This was just a great contribution to the game that is going to, stand the test of time for many years to come.
There might not be a nicer guy in the poker world than Martin Harris. I'm happy to see him win. The only reason I didn't vote for him is because I haven't read his book, Poker and Pop Culture, but I will get on that. I voted for the Kevin Roster piece on Poker News by Aliyah and by Haley. Just thought that was terrific work as well, but you couldn't have gone wrong with any of those nominees. Media content photo, I voted for Drew Amato's picture, which ended up winning. Dario Sammartino, the fold at the World Series of Poker main event, where you see that lovely ace of diamonds. It's just an absolutely phenomenal shot. The other shots were great as well. Antonio's Ryan LaPlante shot, Joe's photo of Frank Stapuchin being lifted up in the air in victory, Haley's picture of two legends, Doyle Brunson and Jack Binion. But Chad, for me, this was Drew Amato's award to win.
Yeah, I could have any of the four winning this, I would have been fine with. They were all remarkable shots. I think if I had to pick, like if I had the sole vote, I might have went with Haley's, Doyle Brunson and Jack Binion, but I think that's just because, part of me is a poker historian of sorts. So I love seeing a photo like that. There's just so much history and so much story there. But it's hard to argue against Drew Amato's photo with the ace of diamonds. Just perfectly captured this moment in time. And it's the second year in a row that Drew Amato has won a Global Poker Award. So, I mean, when you say who are the best poker photographers in the world, Drew Amato is, he's got to be right up there at the top.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, before we move on to the next award, a point of clarification. You wrote this article, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so when I see, Chad, media content video, and one of the nominees is The Big Blind with Removed 139 featuring Mike Mattisau, Norman Chad, and Sarah Herring. I'm guessing, Chad, that's supposed to be my name where it says Removed 139. Your thoughts?
I mean, I'm glad you've caught this, because I'm going in right now.
Too.
I'm going to fix it. But it did the same thing for some reason when with the other category, the broadcaster of the year. But I caught that one.
For my name?
For your name, for some reason.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know why it did that. If it's because it was linked to something or another, I really don't know. But Jeff, I'm fixing it right now. You got nothing to worry about. You're going to get the recognition you deserve, even though you didn't win the award.
Yeah, right. Well, we did not win. Legends of the Game with Stu Unger on Poker Go did not win. Who Makes Money from Professional Poker by Sam Rega for a CNBC did not win. The winner, and this was a no-brainer here, the investigation of the Mike Postle hand histories from Stones Live. It's Joey Ingram's video on YouTube. I mean, the guy just absolutely crushed it. He got my vote. I'm sure he got so many other first-place votes as well. Congratulations to him, because that Chad, was the definition of well-deserved.
Yeah, it was a lock. You backed the truck up to it, bet the house on it. That one was almost a foregone conclusion. Sorry to the other nominees. Great content in the video format, but nobody could deny Joey Ingram his second award there in that category. Jeff, another category that happened, another one that the people got to vote on, that fans of the game, the People's Choice for Poker Personality. Joey Ingram was nominated there as well. He was nominated a total of 4 times, ended up getting 2 of the awards. But this one, Joey Ingram was nominated, Ryan DePaulo, Lex Veldhouse, and Jonathan Little. And this year it went to Mr. Jonathan Little. And, I've worked with Jonathan. I contributed a chapter to his book. I've known him a very long time. He's got an army in the poker world, and he amassed it here to get those votes up. You know, he's been in the industry for a long time. He's got a super strong network, and you know, evidenced here by, you know, he beat some tough competition to win this Personality of the Year award.
Yeah, major props to him. As you mentioned, that dude has a core group of rabid fans. I mean, that guy has just amassed a massive fan base. And so, you know, there's no surprise to see that he won the People's Choice for Poker Personality. I thought he gave a great speech as well, talking about kind of living his life as a dream. So congratulations once again to Jonathan Little. And then, Chad, our final one, I happen to present this one, the People's Choice for Hand of the Year. So we had a bad beat for the ages. The Bryce Yockey one against Josh Aria in the 50K. That awful deuce to 7 triple draw. Awful bad beat. We had a crazy bluff by Sam Trickett at the Triton Million against Stephen Chidwick. We had the win folding a full house to Athanasios Polychronopoulos' better full house at the PokerStars Players Championship. And we also had the eventual winner, Ryan Reese, making the all-in call for his tournament life with just 10 high at the UPT Monte Carlo final table.
Jeff, let me just say you nailed. Well done getting Anastasios Polychronopoulos. I fumbled it there. We used to joke about, and I love him. He's one of the nicest guys.
I love him. Such a great guy.
We used to joke, and we used to call him Control V. Because when we, as poker writers, when we're doing the live updates, his name is so long, you just copy it to the clipboard and then hit Control V to paste it. But yeah, you nailed that one. The winner in this category, though, Ryan Reese making that 10 high call, it was impressive for sure. But I kind of thought the Bryce Yockey hand was going to win it this year.
I mean, that's the odds of that beat taking place is astronomical, and then put it at the final table of the most prestigious mixed games tournament of the year. I mean, that is pretty wild. And that was certainly my vote for hand of the year. But hey, when you call in for your tournament life at a big time final table with just 10 high, that deserves some recognition as well. So that is your list of the Global Poker Award winners, Jeff, along with the nominees. Yes,
real
sir.
Quick, these weren't ones that were voted on or nominated, but there were 3 other awards that happened that I want to pay quick attention to. Yeah. So there was the Award of Merit, and this year it was awarded to, just in general, tournament live reporters. And Tim Duckworth, longtime veteran of tournament reporting, was there to accept it on behalf of lots of us who do this. And I really appreciate that, because live reporters are very underappreciated. You know, they don't get the recognition that they deserve. People think their job is easy, and I'm telling you, it's not. As somebody who's done it a long time and manages a team of it. And, you know, just thank you to, you know, the GPI and to Eric Denis and others involved for recognizing tournament live reporters. It's very much appreciated. And then, of course, there was
sorry, Chad, just to harp on that point, just real quick. I'm happy that that's something that Eric and the GPI decided to do. I think, you know, Tim is a great representative of what you all do. It's very easy from the outside looking in to be like, oh, you guys just travel to really cool spots and you write about poker. That must be nice. But the amount of work that goes into it, the super long days that you guys have to go through. I mean, this is the definition of hard work. I thought, and you know, Tim's not a guy who loves the camera. And when the camera's just on him right away as he's walking up to the stage, you could tell, you know, he wasn't a huge fan of it, but I thought he gave a great speech. And again, just a terrific representative of everything that you guys do. All right, go ahead with those other 2.
Yeah, there was just 2 other kind of, you know, the GPI's equivalent of a Lifetime Achievement Awards, if you will. The first was the Hendon Mob Award. I think it's the second time they've ever given this out. And it's just awarded to somebody who's made a big impact on the Hendon Mob database. And this year it went to a very deserving individual, Miami John Cernuto, one of my favorites from back in the Poker Boom days. Yeah, I'd like to see him get a nom for a Poker Hall of Fame maybe. We'll see maybe this next year. But he took it down. He's got more live caches than anybody in the world. First player to break 500 caches in his career. I think he's up, you know, to 513 or something like that. And, you know, he's just on the grind. He's been on the grind for 3+ decades, and it was very cool. I seen he tweeted out after the award. He had brought back a bottle of whiskey many years ago from I think the Irish Poker Open that he was going to drink with his son when he won the WSOP main event. And this is when the main event was much smaller than it is nowadays. And he realized, okay, maybe I'm never going to win the main event, but this is occasion to drink it. So there's a video of him and his son breaking this bottle, and it was just very, very touching, and you know, very excited to see Miami John take that award. And then the other award was the Poker Icon Award. This was a brand new award, just going to be awarded to somebody in the poker world who is an icon. And Johnny Chan, is there any bigger icon in the poker world than him? From his appearance in Rounders, winning the main event back-to-back, almost winning it again, 3 years in a row until Phil Hellmuth spoiled that. It was pretty cool to see Johnny Chan at the awards get up there and give a speech. The award was presented by Maury Escandani. That was just a very special moment, I think.
I thought so too. Great speech from Maury, great acceptance speeches from both John Cernuto and Johnny Chan. This is important for the Global Poker Awards to get this done. You want to acknowledge the present, you want to look ahead to the future, but you have to also acknowledge the past and what some of these guys have done for the game. And Johnny Chan and John Cernuto, perfect recipients of these awards. So we look forward to next year's Global Poker Awards, and maybe, Chad, we will nab a trophy. A couple more quick hits as we close out this episode of the Poker News Podcast. We have the Millions Super High Roller Series going on in Sochi right now. This one has drawn just all the heavy hitters. The buy-ins ranging from $25K to $250K this weekend. Brent Hanks and I will be on the call on Poker Go of the $250K Super High Roller Bowl Russia. We're really looking forward to that. We've seen Phil Ivey in the mix. We know that he is going to play in that $250K, and whenever he's playing, my eyes are drawn to the screen. Just a quick recap of winners. Event number 1, the $25K short deck. Sha Zhang won that one for $378K, beating World Series of Poker main event champion John Sin. Heads up. Event number 2, the $25K no limit. That went to Party Poker ambassador Sam Trickett, won that one for $435,000. Event number 3, the $25K short deck. We've got the picture of Chad. You got to fix this also, man. We got the picture of Makita Badziakuski, but the winner was Y Long Chan out of Malaysia. He wins $435,000. Event number 4, the $50K. That's where we want to see Makita, the milkman out of Belarus, also the Party Poker ambassador, taking down $765,000. Again, that is still going. You can keep track with it on Poker News and on Poker Go. And Chad, I said it a bit like the heavy hitters are in Sochi.
Yeah, let's Jeff, let's do a little game. You got the Super High Roller Bowl Russia coming up, as you mentioned. Let's each pick a player who we think is gonna, either win it or just make some waves at it. I've got mine already.
After you have the honors here.
Yeah, this guy is from the United States. He could have been breakout player of the year last year. Aaron Van Blarcom.
Oh, AVB!
Yeah, AVB. He's already gotten a couple final tables at the stop.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, I think that 2020 is going to prove a big year for him, and it could start in Sochi with the Super High Roller Bowl. Pay attention. That's my pick. How about you?
Okay, and he was in for 2 bullets at Super High Roller Bowl Australia and then bubbled, so he is due for a little bit of redemption. And Chad, whenever you give me the opportunity to take this guy, I'm going to take this guy. His name is Stephen Chidwick. So give me Stephen Chidwick against your boy AVB for Super High Roller Bowl Russia. And finally, Chad, we want to hit the World Series of Poker circuit, Ameristar St. Charles. That main event won by Zach Mullenix out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He takes home almost $93,000 for that win. Chad beating a field of 281 entries for his 3rd WSOP circuit ring.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive performance by him. He had to fight hard, and it was interesting. He was there to get points. He wanted points to qualify for the Global Casino Championship in August. He had amassed a bunch already, so he's just looking to add to that. And then he goes and ships the main event, so he gets a seat. He doesn't even have to worry now. He can go back to Florida, and he's even said that. He said he was kind of getting tired of traveling the circuit, staying on that grind. Now he can go home to South Florida, play some of the local games there, and just wait for the GCC. And congrats to him. And there was a lot of winners down there at the Ameristar St. Charles, which is basically St. Louis, for those of you who might not know. Looking over the event winners, Charlie Dawson, I think he won his 3rd ring, winning event number 1. Craig Welko is a guy out of St. Louis. He's like a hometown hero, right? If you had to pick a hometown hero that maybe you don't see on the national stage or the worldwide stage, but on the St. Louis scene, Craig Welko is a beast. He finally got his 1st ring, taking down event number 6. A couple other names, John Gallagher, I think he took his 3rd or 4th ring down. Eric Salazar won his 4th ring. Brett Reichard, the father of all-time WSOP circuit.
I was going to say the last name looks familiar.
Yeah, I've known Brett for a while. They call him Pops, and he just won his third ring at Potawatomi. So he won this one here, so 2 rings in about 2 months. Pretty impressive for him and the Reichard family. And then Chris Audrain won event number 8 for $16,000. He had a runner-up finish as well, and that allowed him to become the casino champion for the WSOPC Ameristar St. Charles. That means he too will receive a seat into the 2020 Global Casino Championship. But back to Zach Mullenix. We're going to actually end the episode, Jeff, here. Mo Nuwara was the reporter on site, and he actually spoke.
Perfect.
Yeah, he spoke with Jeff at the, after he won the ring, after he won all the money. And I figured, you know what? Let's just take this interview. Let's end the podcast with it. And, do we need to do anything else? Like, subscribe, leave them with that?
Yeah, we should be better at that. So if you're subscribing to our podcast, that's awesome. We appreciate it, and we thank you. If you like our podcast, we appreciate it, and thank you. And leave us a review and rate the podcast and all that good stuff, preferably in the 5-star range. Please don't go lower than 4. If you do want to, just maybe keep those thoughts to yourself, or hit us up on Twitter at Chad Holloway and at Jeff Platt. So for our friend Sarah Herring, we will say deuces, but listen in to this interview. It's Mo Nuwara and the winner of the World Series of Poker Circuit Ameristar St. Charles main event, Zach Mullenix.
All right, so, well, you just won, obviously, and you had said you were chasing points.
Yeah.
So, is that over with now?
Yeah, I think it's done with. I've been pretty worn out from all the traveling, so I think I'm going to kind of just enjoy my life down in South Florida for a couple months and kind of get ready for the WSOP, assuming it happens.
I would also like for it to happen. But,
of course, yeah.
So, I did hear you say you were from Florida and you don't typically travel that much for tournaments. So basically, is that kind of, you got hooked a little bit by the points when you scored some points in Florida? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I've been transitioning from cash to tournaments progressively over the past few years. Like, my first tournament cash was like 2015. And the thing about like living in South Florida is there's so many like tournaments down there that I don't really need to travel that much, especially because I'm still like a 50-50 cash player, tournament player. So for the most part, in the past few years, I've just kind of play cash down there and then like play all the series down there. And then like Vegas in the summer, but outside of that, not a whole lot. But when they came to the Coconut Creek in September, I got like 90 points. I got like 3rd place in that one. So I was like, all right, it would be pretty cool to be in a 1 million tournament for free. So like, let me go to a couple of stops and get points. And that's pretty much what I've done. I did Coconut Creek, obviously, and then I did Biloxi, Tampa, and now here.
How are you liking the tournament life? You said it's a little bit exhausting.
It's a little tiring, because I was doing the whole series. Like, I think some of the more serious guys, they kind of just come in, because like the events are staggered. They kind of just come in for the main events or like a few days before the main event and play a couple of side events. I wasn't doing that. I was kind of coming for the whole thing. So if and when I play future events, I'll probably look to do more of that, like hop around more and play more of the main events, because coming in for like 11 days straight is just like, I can't tell you how tired I am, and I couldn't sleep last night. So I was tired, but I couldn't sleep.
So are you playing for a living in Florida then?
Yeah, I've been a pro for about 6.5 years now.
Okay. What do you normally play?
I came up. I built my way up just playing mostly 2-5. Like, that's my bread and butter game. Some 5-10, and then like as my bankroll swelled, I just kind of started playing tournaments, and tournaments are fun. They're like exciting. You're playing for big money, so
yeah. It's
just mostly that. Just no limit. I don't really play anything like any PLO.
I was gonna ask you. I'm a PLO guy myself, so I was gonna say I played a little PLO in Florida. It's really good. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a good game. I haven't transitioned. I have a lot of friends that play PLO every day at the Hard Rock down there, and I haven't transitioned. I'm enjoying the split between no limit cash and no limit tournaments. So.
Yeah, they both have their
I don't want to spread myself too thin. I don't want to be trying to play like 4 different things. Is to be like a high level player, you gotta study, and if I'm trying to play PLO, no limit tournaments, I might not be as good.
Yeah. There's definitely advantages to specializing.
Yeah.
How old are you then?
28.
28, and you've been playing for 6 years?
6 and a
What
half.
did you do before that?
Literally, my last job was managing a Dairy Queen. Like,
Okay.
honestly, like, poker's been, like, everything for me. Like, I started playing 1-3 in my hometown in Pittsburgh with, like, literally $2,000 to my name back in, like, early 2013. And, like, maybe late 2012, I can't remember. But, like, literally just going down and, like, buying in for, like, 200 at a 1-3 game with that's like 10% of my net worth, driving a like beater car to now like
You don't gotta tell me.
I mean, it like literally like poker's given me everything, so it's just like it's pretty amazing how far I've come in the past 6 years. Like I'm really fortunate.
I went to Pittsburgh once and played a little. Games were good there.
Yeah, it's a smaller city, like not a ton of money there, so like it's just a lot of 1-3 games, and then like you get some really big games every once in a while.
Yeah, I understand that there's some big games.
Yeah.
I played a little PLO when I worked there.
They have
good.
a thriving like 1-3-6 and like some 5-5. I know some of the guys that play that. It's a pretty small player pool, but it's good action.
Yeah, I think it seemed to be. It seemed to be. So take a break now then?
Yes, I need to get some rest. Get back to Florida. Like get back to just doing like normal things. Like like I train jiu-jitsu, so like I when I come on the road, I don't do a lot of that. So like I just want to kind of get back into exercising and eating right and things.
It's really
like that.
hard to do that on the road.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.